Welcome to the K12 Professional Educational Management Plan for Alowaidhi, Alanazi, and I, Almatrudi, will represent the project. After meeting with you, we know that you have a problem, which is the teacher in your school are not using available technology in their classroom effectively to support their teaching and help their students obtain learning goals efficiently. We created some goals and objectives to meet with your desired expectation. The project goals are to develop and implement a professional development program to help teachers become more proficient in using available common educational technology in their classrooms to help their students. The professional development will focus on three areas in which teachers have deficiency. This deficiency is represented in integrating educational technology into classroom practices, operating new technology, and modifying lesson and assessment with educational technology. The professional development must be completed over the next 2 years, starting from the summer 2021. We created a list of objectives for the project, which are design and develop PD session, develop instruction material which should include media-rich presentation and otherwise specified in the project. Third, install technology including new multimedia in the professional development room in all classrooms. Fourth, all teachers must attend for offering of 2 weeks intensive professional development. 5. During the academic year from September to June 21st, 2 days of courses must be conducted. 6. 2 monthly professional development PD session will provide for reporting. Then we created a list of success criteria for you to measure the achievement of the project. Examples for the criteria are 1. Professional development session completed on schedule. 2. Educational technology presented in the professional development room and classroom scheduled completely. Third, teacher will be able to operate educational technology, modify lessons and assessment using technology at least 20 minutes each class. Now I will mention some of the assumptions and risks that may happen during this project. The assumptions are 1. Resources have been determined. 2. Positive attitude and their agreement with the administrator. Risks are weather-related issue. 2. Some technology resources get damaged or need maintenance. Now, let's move on to the plan phase. In the plan phase, we are going to represent 3 charts for you. The first chart in the plan phase, we have the work breakdown structure. The work breakdown structure was developed to focus on 6 objectives. Each objective was broken down into activity and sub-activity to allow each manager to control and track progress. The major objectives identified were as follows: review PD sessions, implement 4 2-week PD sessions, implementation and evaluation through the entire academic year. The last objective of which the focus on summarizing the implementation. Now, the second chart in the plan phase is the sequence activity chart. We created this chart to help us analyze the activity and determine which activity should start before the other activity. In this chart, each period consists of 5 days. Next, we determine how much activity will take for the team member to complete. Now, let's move on to the next slide. The third chart in the plan phase is the critical path chart. After finishing the sequence activity chart, we started to build our critical path sequence by analyzing which activity will take a long time to complete and which activity will affect the progress of the project. Now, let's move on to the organize phase. In the organize phase, we create the project organization chart to identify who will work on the project and how they will communicate with one another. It also provides each team member with a guide on how their workflow should work. Each member of the team should communicate to their leader and leader communicate with the project manager. Now let's move on to the next slide. The second chart in the organize phase is work package. We created the work package to help us identify who is responsible for each task. Also, work package allow for stimulus work to be done on different components of the project. Each team will follow the tasks identified for the work package and complete them by the specific deadline. Now let's move on to the next phase, which is the control phase. In the control phase, we have the ground chart that our team develop and will use for the project, displayed in part below. The chart will use the project as primary tool since it shows the project timetable, the relationship between activity, the responsible lead for each activity, the status of each activity's completion, and the start and dates for each activity. The green vertical line displays the current week of the project. Communication plan. All team members must meet every 2 weeks to provide a status report for each task that they are responsible to the project manager. Moreover, the project manager will provide a report for the stakeholder every 4 months. Also, every team member whose task gets delayed for any reason will immediately contact the project manager to figure out the reason for having it delay and find out a solution to correct that conflict resolution. In this case, the plan and project is harmed. The project manager is the primary source for correcting the schedule to ensure the project is finished on time and on budget and according to requirements. While the project manager is the primary point of contact, it takes team effort to ensure that resources are shared and the project is completed on schedule. The coordination plan will help the project manager and activity leaders ensure that any scheduling issues are resolved or readjusted as soon as possible to keep the project on track. Now let's move on to the next phase, which is the close phase. It is essential to close the project as its completion for me. The project team requires assurance from the client that the targets were accomplished and what they set out to do was achieved, not just for the project team but also for customers. This is crucial. The procedure for the closing will be final project report will include performance report, present a presentation for the client, proof of on time, on budget, and high quality deliverables, summary of the report, design, development, and implementation, summary of all phases, define, plan, organize, and close. Second, audit will include schedule meeting with the client for significant deliverables and receive feedback for the project to see if the project met the expectation of the client. Also, schedule a meeting with all project members to see if the project was completed on time and within budget. Also, prepare a copy for presentation and final report for the client. Also, complete the final project audit to close all project activities. In the evaluation and assessment part after the project is completed, a survey for teacher will be performed to learn more how about the use technology. In addition, a questionnaire will be distributed in which teacher will be asked about the advantage of using technology in the classroom and which type of technology are used more than others. The principal will be contacted for a second interview. The interview will look into benefit of technology for students. Here is a checklist for all deliverables. Now, let's move on to the management issue for the project. If any management issue happened in the project related to change strategy, we created a list of contingency plan. For example, here is the list of contingency plan that we created. Thank you for listening to our project plan.